Hey, what's up guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm doing a super heavy samurai deck profile. So this deck is a super cool deck that basically has some new support that's come out in Eternity Code, and it's a really good support. Super Heavy Samurai Wagon and Super Heavy Samurai Swordmaster are cards that we've been waiting about 4 years to come out for this deck, and I am super hyped for them coming out because it makes this deck really good to be able to play around with, and it's a really fun deck now. It's really budget too because the majority of the deck is just Super Heavy Samurais, that's common cards, maybe a couple supers here and there, but without no further ado, let's get straight on this. Before we do, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next to become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out that Patreon down in the description because we have some really cool rewards for you guys, like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting a signed card sent to you, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month that you are a patron. So let's get straight on into this, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Big Benkei. So something that you need to keep in mind about Super Heavy Samurais is yes, you see that really low attack points, but you really don't need to look at that. Just look at the really big defense points, because when this card is normal or special summoned, you get to change its defense position, and then Super Heavy Samurai monsters you control can attack while in defense position, and if you do, apply the defense for the damage calculation, which means they attack with their defense, which is really cool to be able to just attack with the defense points, which is super neat. It's kind of like an old card called Total Defense Shogun, which is really neat, which was one of my favorite cards as a kid because it would attack from defense position and you apply the defense points as the attack points, which is neat. Basically what this deck does. Then we play 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Thief. Super Heavy Samurai Thief lets you, if you have no spells or traps in your graveyard, which this deck plays no spells or traps, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And then after this card is special summoned, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for Super Heavy Samurai monsters. And you can tribute this card to activate one of the effects to destroy a card in your opponent's spell and trap card zone and set it to your spell and trap card zone, or destroy one card in your opponent's pendulum zone and place it in your pendulum zone, which is pretty neat. Then we play 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Scales. Super Heavy Samurai Scales is if you control 2 or more monsters, and if your opponent controls 2 or more monsters and you control no monsters, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target 1 level 4 or lower Super Heavy Samurai monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position, which is a really good effect just to be able to get another Super Heavy Samurai monster, so you can use it as link material, use it as synchro material, or whatever you need to. Then we play 3 of the new Super Heavy Samurai Wagon. Super Heavy Samurai is Wagon is the new card that just got released in Eternity Code, and this card is actually really good for the deck. It's surprisingly good because what it does is when this card is normal or special summoned, you can change its battle position, and then when this card attacks in the face of defense position, if it does, you apply the defense position as for damage calculation. And if you have no spells or traps in the graveyard, you can change this face-up card you control to attack position, and if you do, you get to add a Super Heavy Samurai Soul monster from your deck to your hand, which is basically any of the equip monsters that the deck plays as well, which is really good to be able to search those because they are super pivotal to the strategy of Super Heavy Samurais. So then we play 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Magnet. Magnet, when it's normal summon, you can special summon another Super Heavy Samurai monster from your hand, and then you can change this card to defense position. And then monsters your opponent control cannot attack monsters except for this one, which is kind of cool if you get 2 of them on the field, because then they can only attack that one. 1 copy of Blue Brawler. I really like 1 Blue Brawler because it can't be destroyed battle, and when it's normal or special summon, it immediately goes to defense position, and that can really throw your opponent off if they can't attack the monster, or they can't beat over the monster, which is super neat. 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Flutist. I like Flutist in here too because you can tribute it to special summon a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your hand. So if you draw Big Benkei, then you can just normal summon this card, special summon the Big Benkei. But it also has the ability that when a card or effect is activated that targets a Super Heavy Samurai monster, you can banish the card from your grave to negate the activation if you destroy it. They're usually not going to attack over your Super Heavy Samurai monsters. They're usually going to have to use a card effect, and this prevents them from being targeted and negates that one effect. Then I played 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Helper. Helper is neat because it really helps out. Haha. But basically what this card does is, during damage calculation, if your defense position monster battles an opponent's monster while you have no spells or traps in your graveyard, you can quick effect discard this card and then target 1 Super Heavy Samurai monster you control other than the one battling, and then the one battling gains the defense to the one you targeted. So basically, if I have 2 Big Benkeis on the field, for example, here's the easiest example. If both of these are in defense and you attack Big Benkei number 1, I can take Big Benkei number 1's defense and apply it to Big Benkei number 2. Basically, the one you're attacking gains the attack of the one you targeted, which is kind of cool. Then it has the ability that during damage calculation only, and then when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, you can banish a card from your graveyard, target a Super Heavy Samurai in your grave, and special summon it. So it not only protects you that way, but it also protects you by special summoning another Super Heavy Samurai from your graveyard, which could be like a blue brawler or something like that, just to get something on the field to protect you. Then that's it for the Super Heavy Samurai monsters that are not tuners. Let's get into the tuner monsters. So for the tuner monsters that we're playing 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Trumpeter. Trumpeter is really good because if this card, if you don't spell traps in your graveyard, you can just instantly special summon this card from your hand, which is super helpful just to immediately special summon it. And you can only special summon this card, or you can only special summon Super Heavy Samurai monsters for your rest turn. And if this card is tributed for the tribute summon of a Super Heavy Samurai monster and sent to the graveyard, and you have no spell traps in your graveyard, you can special summon this card back, which is really good too. Then we play 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Battle Ball. Battle Ball is the card that you always want to have in your hand. This card is so good in this deck because basically what this card does is it lets you use your opponent's monsters to synchro summon into your monsters. So this card is the main way that we're going to be going into all of our synchro plays in this entire deck, which is absolutely bonkers. We actually play some Kaijus in here as well to use them as materials, which is really helpful. Then I play a single copy of Super Heavy Samurai Drums. Drum is really good because when it's on the field and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Super Heavy Samurai monster in your grave, except another copy of itself, and then special summon it, which is really nice. I like that replaceability, and it's a level 1 tuner, which can help out the deck. So that's it for the monsters, or the tuners. Let's get into the soul monsters. So for these soul monsters, basically they're equipped monsters, and they all share the same ability. So we're going to go through them really quickly. So Super Heavy Samurai Soul Piercer has the ability that you can target a Super Heavy Samurai monster you control, and equip this card from your hand or your side of the field to the targeted monster, which all the soul monsters just about share. And then they have particular abilities. So Soul Piercer lets you, well, do piercing damage. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, then you can add a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck to your hand, which is really cool to be able to search it. And something that's interesting about that is it's not once per turn. So every single time this card is sent to the graveyard, you can just instantly get searches, which is really, really nice. Then we play 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Soul Horns. Soul Horns is really good too because you can take a Super Heavy Samurai monster and equip it to this card, or take this card and equip it to a Super Heavy Samurai, and then when this card is equipped to the monster by this card effect, you can special summon this card, and it also has the ability that makes the monster be able to attack twice during each one of your battle phases, which is really, really good. Then we play 3 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Soul Peacemaker. Soul Peacemaker is really good in here too because it basically lets you target a Super Heavy Samurai and equip it to that monster, and then when this card is equipped to a monster by this effect, your opponent cannot attack monsters you control except the one that's equipped with this card, and then you can tribute the monster this card's equipped to with this card equipped to it, and then special summon a Super Heavy Samurai monster from your deck, which is usually going to be your Big K. Then we play 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Soul Buster Gauntlet. Soul Buster Gauntlet is so good in this deck because you can discard it when a Super Heavy Samurai monster battles and then double the defense of the Super Heavy Samurai monster that's battling, which is extremely helpful just to increase that damage that you're doing to your opponent. So that's it for the Soul monsters. Let's get into the Kaijus. So for the Kaijus, we're playing 3 copies of Yugioh, the Star-Destroying Kaiju. Yugioh really helps out because it's a level 10 monster that you can go into Steam Train King with, Battle Ball into this card just by tributing an opponent's monster. 1 copy of Dolgoran and 1 copy of Gameciel because they really help out as well because they're level 8 monsters that you can go into your copies of Susanoo really, really, really easily with these cards as well with just a copy of Battle Ball. So that's it for your Kaijus. Basically, these are just used for synchro materials to give them to your opponent and then use them to synchro summon into your copies of your Super Heavy Samurai, Steam Train King, or your Susanoo, which is really, really helpful in the main way that you go into them. So that's it. That's it for the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Super Heavy Samurai Steam Train King, which is the biggest boss monster in the entire deck, and one of the highest defense position monsters in the entire game. And then when this card attacks while it's in a defense position, you apply the defense as the attack, essentially. And then once per turn, you can discard 2 cards, and then target that many cards your opponent controls and destroy them. And then once per turn, you can banish all spell traps in the graveyard, and if you do, inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent for each one banished, which is really good. 2 copies of Susanoo. Susanoo is interesting because this card can attack while in defense position. And once per turn during either player's turn, when you have no spell or traps, you can target a spell or trap your opponent's graveyard and set it to your side of the field, but banish it when it leaves the field. 1 copy of QB. QB is good too because QB has the ability that it's really neat, because what this card does is basically it gains 900 defense for each special summon monster your opponent controls, which this card can get really big really quick. I mean, with just 1 special summon monster, this card already goes all the way up to 3,400, which is humongous. And it's actually a reference to the Nine-Tailed Fox, if you guys didn't know. Then we play 1 copy of Superheavy Samurai Sarutobi. Sarutobi is really neat too, because it has the ability that once per turn during either player's turn, when you have no spells or traps in your graveyard, you can target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it, and if you do, you inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent, which is neat because it's basically it's MST with a burn. Stealth Ninja we play as a 1-of as well. Stealth Ninja basically can half its defense and then attack your opponent directly, and then once per turn during your standby phase, add this card with draw back card effect into the grave, you get to special summon it. 2 copies of the Superheavy Samurai Shirandoji. Shirandoji is essentially a copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. It destroys all spells and traps on your opponent's side of the field, which is really, really cool. And then for the new Superheavy Samurai, we play 1 copy of Superheavy Samurai Swordmaster Musashi, which is the newest Superheavy Samurai. It has 2,300 defense. This card is 4 years in the making, coming to the TCG, and what it does is when it's synchro summon, you can target a machine monster in your grave and add it back to your hand, and also you have to have a spell or trap in your grave, and then you cannot normal summon or set for the rest of the turn, and if this card attacks while in face of defense position, it applies its defense. But if you have a spell or trap in the graveyard, then for the rest of the turn, you cannot normal summon or special summon, which is really a punishing ability to make it so you can't use spells or traps in this deck. 1 Royal Sword just to help you OTK, Unicorn to bounce stuff, Phoenix to pop spells or traps, Crystron Needle Fiber just to be able to special summon out your tuner monsters, and then a single copy of Mrs. Radiant because the entire deck is pretty much Earth. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a really fun deck to play around with and extremely budget. This deck is extremely budget. You can probably get the entire main deck for maybe $10 or $20 tops, and then the extra deck is extremely cheap as is anyways. I think the most expensive card in the main deck is probably going to be your Kaijus, but other than that, the main deck is pretty cheap. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell next so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have some really cool rewards for you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.